Okay, we're going to take a whirlwind tour of Power BI. We're going to cover the core concepts around building reports with Power BI Desktop. We're going to take a dive into the interface and talk about how to pull in and prepare your data and go over some of the basics of working with visualizations and actually building reports. There are a lot of examples out there, and the best way to learn this product I've found is by jumping in and playing with it. So I strongly encourage you to do that once you've had this tour. We are going to have to move very quickly to kind of get through everything, so I apologize for that. When you open up the actual application, it's free to download and free to use. You'll see that you're presented, you may be prompted to log in. You can log in with a Microsoft work or school account. And your initial view here is actually the file menu, where you can choose to create a new report. You can jump right into get data, which is where you're going to connect to a data source and pull in your data, or you can open an existing report. We already have an existing, almost finished report here. We'll take a look at the process to get data as if you were starting from scratch here in a moment. The interface itself is pretty common if you're familiar with Microsoft products like Microsoft Office. You have a menu bar up top as well as a ribbon below it that give you access to commonly used tools. And you'll see that the contents of these will change depending on the context that you're in, which consists of a report view, a table view, and a model view. You'll spend most of your time in the report view. This is where you actually work with the contents of your report and the visualizations that are in it. And in here, you'll see that there's also some panes on the right side. There's a filter pane, a format pane, a data pane. The actual panes that are visible are going to vary, again, based on context, and their contents will as well. So you can see if I change the visualization that's selected, you'll see that the format changes because we're changing the properties of that visualization that's selected. And you can also see that in the data pane over here, it gives little check marks to say, hey, there's data inside of this table that is utilized by that visualization. You also have at the bottom the ability to switch back and forth between desktop and mobile layout view. And there are also tabs that will let you switch between pages of your report. Usually those pages are kind of independent views of different things that you're looking at in your data. Sometimes they can have interdependencies too, but usually they stand alone. So to actually start, you will click Get Data with a new report, and you can also add data at any time to an existing report. You'll see that the common data sources that are here include spreadsheets, databases, text files, the web. You can actually put in a URL for a page that may have a table of data that you want to pull in. You can do that, as well as more advanced things like OData feeds. And if you have something like a custom API that your company uses or a service that may not be listed here, we can help you kind of navigate how you would get that data into your report. But almost anything you can imagine that's out there in a file or through a service on the web is going to be accessible. If what you want is not there, you can say get more, and you'll be put into this get data dialog, which lets you select by kind of subcategories of different data types. And you can also search if you wanted to find SharePoint lists, just type in there and you can find it. So we're going to just use a simple Excel workbook. And the next thing it's going to take me to is the ability to select where that file is and then to a navigator. This navigator will let me choose, depending again on the data source. In this case, because there can be multiple sheets in a workbook, there's only one in ours, but we're going to select that. And it's going to give you a preview of the data. The other thing you may run into is a need to authenticate, in which case it'll give you the ability to authenticate in a bunch of different ways, depending on what that service supports. And what we're doing here really is building a data connection. And that data connection is going to be persistent. It's going to live inside of your report. And this is going to let you, whether it's in a file or on the web, it's going to let you be able to go back and access that data source later on. And if a record is removed or added or changed, when you click refresh in your report, it's going to be able to retrieve that data and pull in the fresh data with changes. And what we can do from here is click load or transform. I'm going to choose transform data because I want us to take a look at the Power Query editor. You may be familiar with Power Query. Again, this is another one of the contributions from Microsoft Office. This shows us all of the queries that pull in data into our report. The employees one is what we just selected here. It gives us, again, a completely different set of options in our ribbon up top. And this is for cleaning up, transforming, combining, splitting, doing a bunch of different formatting changes or other things that you might want to do to your data as it's in the process of being imported into your report. You'll see that over on the right side here, there's some steps that are applied. For our case, let's say, we have a column here that has a full name of our employees. We can choose to split that up. And again, all these tools are fairly intuitive to use. And it splits it into two name columns. So we'll call one first name, and we'll call the second last name. And then you can see that our department data is all lowercase. So what we can do is go over to transform and choose format and then capitalize each word. And it's going to apply both of those things. You can see the steps that we just completed. They're represented in a script up top, but really this will let you keep track of everything that's done. And really every time you do a refresh of your data, these steps are going to be applied to make sure that your data is transformed in that way and it's in a format that you can use cleanly inside of your report. So there's a lot of stuff to explore in here, but the way that we apply the changes that we just made is to click close and apply. And you'll see when I go over to the table view, which we haven't looked at yet, it would give me a notification that the data was being loaded. And over here in the table view, this is the ability to look at the raw data that has been pulled in from your different data sources. And it's accessible by choosing the different table names over in this data pane on the right side. So you can see our split columns are split, our capitalized data is capitalized. Any of the transformations that we made are applied here. There are a bunch of other things that you can do here as well. If you want to have your data formatted in a particular way, sorted in a particular way, if there are fields that are not applicable at all, but you want to have them here for calculations or other purposes, but you know you're not going to actually display them in a report, you can hide them. You can see that this one here is hidden. And you can also do things like add new columns that may be derived from existing data. You can see there's annual revenue and number of employees. What I can do is actually create a new column. We'll just call it annual revenue per employee. And what you can see is as you start typing in this field that lets you create your new column, if I start typing number of employees, it actually goes and finds that there's a column in the accounts table called number of employees. I can click it or just hit tab in order to select that. And you can create your own formulas that will create a new derived value. In this case, you see that it drops in what I created. Now, this is a currency value, so I can go change its formatting to currency. And it will do that. And we also don't really have a need to show a lot of decimals as well. So we may just want to clean that up. These are the commonly used currency symbols. You can see there's a lot of flexibility here. We're going to switch this to 0 because we don't want any decimal places. And then once we do that, again, the data is reflected so that you can see in real time what's going to be shown when you actually pull it into a report. And once you've identified the types for all of these columns, again, in some cases, Power BI is going to be able to do that for you. But your reports will reflect, those data types by showing currency in the format that it should be. And you can tweak those as well. You can also add measures. You can think of a measure as a formula that's used to perform calculations on data in your model. And they're created using a language called DAX, or data analysis expressions. You may have used that if you have created formulas in Excel. They're recalculated dynamically as you apply different filters and slicers to the data in your reports. So one thing that we might want to do here is we have an opportunities table. One example of a measure, I'm just going to click new measure here. And it's going to give me, again, a very simple editor. I'm just going to paste this in. It's going to perform a SumX function on opportunities table, the value column of that. And when I hit OK, hit the checkbox, and it's going to add that. This is going to be a dynamically calculated value that I can put into my reports. So when I go back over here, I mean, this is not going to be pretty, but I'm going to look down from a list of visualizations here. I'm going to select a card just to show you this value. We'll just do a simple one here. And when I go down to opportunities, you can see that there's a total opportunity value now that represents that measure. And we didn't format this one, so it isn't going to do that by default. But if I had done what I did with the other column and applied currency formatting, it would show it that way. But it's recalculating this. This right now represents all of the opportunities that we have across our whole data set. And we can label this, we can size this, we can put it wherever we want as a visualization inside here. But it's a dynamic value, and it's recalculated. If we want to say, these are the opportunities that are related to a category called computers, it's going to recalculate, and it's going to show, the calculation and the measure we provided that is only applied to what is selected. Okay, and you can see that when I look at this little filter, it is showing what's affecting this visual. It says, hey, we're only looking at the category of computers. So measures are a really powerful thing that you can, make as simple or complex as you want. But they're typically edited through the table view in here. That's where you're going to edit your measures. You can see that there's a lot of these that are created by default inside of this report. You can go ahead and explore those on your own. The other view that we want to take a look at is the model view. The model view shows you all the relationships between all of the different tables that you have. Your model may be fairly simple. It may be very complex. You may only have one table, or you may have many. But this, if you're familiar with working in Access or in databases at all, you've probably seen a relationship model like this before. Again, we can help make sense of these complex data models if you have them. These are somewhat optional, again, to get into models of this complexity. But in terms of Power BI, you can take a look at the data pane here. And when you switch to model, this shows you all of, for example, the measures that you have across everything in your report. So this is kind of the metadata about your data. And it's another way to organize and be able to work with things. If you wanted to change some of the relationships here, some of the ways that filtering gets applied in your reports, this is the place that you would do that. So switching back to our report view, we've already looked at the ways that you can format your data through those other views. Once your data is in a place where you're ready to work with it, you're typically going to do the rest of your work in the report view. So Power BI reports are intended for interaction and visualization, unlike your old tabular reports. Each page is a canvas, really, containing interrelated visual components. You can filter that data that's shown on a per-page basis. All of these filters here will basically be applied just to this specific page that we're showing in our report. But it's really neat. We already have seen the data that is all interacting behind the scenes also interacts here in your visuals. So when you select a particular category, every other visualization that's in this report is filtered accordingly. If we wanted to see in this key influencers, and I'll talk about these in a minute, if we select one of these influencers in here, that subset, again, gets filtered and applied to everything else that you're seeing. So the visualizations that are here, there are quite a few of them that are available out of the box. And you can also click to get more. There's a complete marketplace. You can also build your own. It's something we aren't going to be able to take the time to take a look at today, but you can build your own visualizations right within Power BI. You can, have developers on your teams create them and publish them so that they could be available to you and others. There are a lot of them that are out there that are free, some that are paid as well, but the ones that you get out of the box are pretty comprehensive. You have maps that will be able to show you, location-based data and a lot of your typical bar charts and other types. Some of the ones that are considered the more advanced ones and the newer ones, they have categorized here as AI visuals. These are the ones that are showcased by this particular report, and we'll take a look at those here briefly. But they basically utilize, machine learning behind the scenes. You plug in some values or not. In some cases, it's able just to look at your entire model. And for example, when you drop in this key influencers visualization, this is going to now show us what influences the status to be won or lost. We can switch back and forth. And this is just going to give you some really deep insights into your data. When the sales owner is Molly Clark, the likelihood of the status being won increases by 1.5 times in furniture. If I click this again to basically unselect it and make all the data available again, when our discount goes up 0.02, then the likelihood of winning a sales opportunity goes up by 2.76 times. And we can drill into that more and see what this discovered data is based upon. So this stuff is all just kind of done by adding and selecting a few parameters for each of these visualizations. Another one that you can see is on this decomposition tree page. This is one of my favorites. You can drill down inside of any given hierarchy of entities inside of your model. If I click on software here, you'll see that it shows me design apps and mobile apps compose our software category. And then further, by region, we can look at, design apps was the larger one and was picked by default. Well, what about mobile apps? You can see the breakdown by region of mobile apps. So again, all of these can be influenced by selecting different slices of data in different places. If you pick a different series in here, it'll show you, the percentage of total that series comprises, and that North America makes up that amount of software. So these are completely interrelated and interactive. Another one of the AI visuals is Q&A. This is preparing the Q&A. This has a very deep preparation that you can go through for this. You can set up lots of different synonyms for things to make natural language more recognizable based on things that are in your model. We're not going to go into all that, but you can basically type natural language queries here. And if you wanted to see, what a sales total was for region X, Y, or Z, you can type that in here, and it's going to give you back a little visualization of what that is. In this case, we're looking at one of the ones that was selected previously, revenue won by region, and it prepares and shows you that. So there are some additional things coming with Copilot as well that's in preview right now. And again, we don't have time to cover all of that, but they're going to give you an even deeper integration with generative AI to potentially be able to create an entire report like this from scratch with a data model. So you choose some data sources, and then by putting in a prompt, it's going to be able to give you a complete report with all of the things that you ask for in that prompt, created in a specific way. So that's an exciting new thing that's coming in preview form in Power BI and is going to be released soon. The last one here, as far as the AI visuals, is the narrative. And again, what this does is just puts in narrative form some of the insights that it's able to glean from your data by providing it with a few parameters. So again, these are some of the more advanced visualizations that are available. One of the other things I'd like to show you here is that in addition to just these visualizations and being able to set, kind of top level filters that are always in place, you can, as one of the types of visualizations, and you will use these a lot, is to provide a slicer for your data. What a slicer is more or less a selector. Let's say we want to look at owners, and we'll look at sales owners. All I have to do is drag the data on, and what you'll see is that an entire list of our sales owners shows up in this slicer. And once I select this, I can go into formatting. I can look at my slicer settings. I can format it in different ways. If I want it to take up less space and be a drop-down, I can do that. In this case, we'll keep it as a list. The selection process, I can force it to be single select only if I want, or I can select multiple values. So this is just to kind of show how you change your different options on your different visualizations. In this case, when we hold the control key, we can select multiples. And what you see, again, is happening. This is allowing us to narrow down the data and only show it as applicable to the specific sales owners. So we can choose as many or as few as we want. We can display a select all button to select everybody. And you can see that the slicer basically allows you, and you can have multiples of these on any given report, allows you to impact the data that's being viewed by doing exactly what it sounds like, which is slicing that data up. Publishing reports, once these are done, again, we can't really get into the specifics of having workspaces online. The licensed Power BI Pro and Premium products will give your company access to online workspaces where you can have, department level workspaces that are set up for collaboration and sharing, but you can easily publish reports. You can save these report files, which are PBIX files. They can be, you can send it via email or another communication device to someone to be able to use that report. Sometimes, depending on the data, because again, remember, whenever you're connecting to data sources, it's loading that data into your report, it's pulling it down and storing it so that you always have a copy of it. Those files can get large sometimes, but you can put them on a network share for your company to have multiple people access those at once. There are a lot of different ways to share that data. You can also export your reports as snapshots if you wanted to export a PDF file to display some data. And you don't need to necessarily interact with what you're showing. You may be able to export a PDF file and share that as well. There are a lot of different features that are added monthly. There's a new drop, and your application in Power BI Desktop will be automatically updated whenever those updates happen. Like I mentioned, with the new true generative AI features that are going to be coming through Copilot and many others, you can get a summary on the intro screen when the application opens. It'll give you a link to be able to see what's new. In some cases, you can also go into your settings. And in here, you can turn on preview features. If you read about something that is new that you want to check out, you can go into your settings, and in preview features, you can check a box. Usually that'll require a restart. But if you want to look at the new button slicer visual, you can check that box. And it's going to prompt you when you hit OK to restart the app, and then that will be available. So lots of great new things like this DAX editor have been introduced in the last 6 months or so. This will let you kind of build and test out expressions in a nice, easy place where, again, there's a tabbed interface here that allows you to create multiple queries, and these will be stored in your model. So I hope you've enjoyed this kind of brief introduction to Power BI. Again, there's a lot to explore. We can, as 5-star, we can help you out with exploring your own data and building reports as well. But if there's anything further, you can present your questions in chat and we can answer those for you. Thank you.